Hello, citizens of Stinktopia. Absolutely fantastic to have you here, have you around. Today we are doing something a little bit different. Well, not publicly known lore about me is that one of my high school gym teachers is a prolific flat earther. And I just want to dog on the guy. Now, everything I'm about to say is all alleged. Please don't come for me, Tyler. But just general vibes that I got from him were very, how could one say, off-putting, and I did not like. I never personally had him as like my gym teacher because he did like our strength and conditioning, and I mean, look at here, but that wasn't really what I was doing. But he was around the premise. I knew a lot of people who, took his gym class or had to work in proximity to him. And I will say he had a weird relationship with some young women. I don't really think it ever went anywhere weird, but it always felt a little weird, which is, I personally feel that's enough in itself. I just want to take some time, look at his Instagram profile, and make fun of the guy because I didn't even like him when I was in high school. So I am 3 years removed, and nonetheless, I still don't like him. This is him, Tyler Hansen. I mean, look at that guy. But yeah, let's just get in. Let's put on my headphones and let's just watch. I want to see his most recent dogs in the water. Hot dogs in the water.
We have been told. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago when I started exploring what the stars actually look like that I figured out where we truly live and why they try to hide it from us. You see, this is the star Sirius, otherwise known as the dog star. And I truly believe I am the first person in the world to figure something out about it. Because once I realized that a star wasn't a burning ball of gas quintillions of miles away, and I started looking closer, well, what I found blew my mind. And what I found were...
I'm just curious what he thinks. He taught in public school. I went to a public high school. I went to public school my whole life. Even the college I go to is a public college, but public school gym teacher, Northern Illinois. You'd think the bare minimum is to know that stars are a burning ball of gas. So, sorry, also this comment, dog equals God. I'm worried. Also, does this hat just say ice wall? It's the ugliest hat I've ever seen. Also kind of like a gay hat. Like, I don't know, something... hate to say it. Something about the coloring on it giving me a little fruity.
Literal images of dogs in the dog star Sirius, and I'm going to point a few out here. And some of them are as clear as day, like that. 2 eyes and a nose. There's 2 dog heads right there next to
Where?
it. And believe me, I realize how ridiculous it sounds.
Yes.
And believe me, I verified this through
With
other
who?
people's cameras, through telescopes. There are always dog images that cycle through the star Sirius. In every single glitter or shimmer of light, there is a different dog that pops up. But I soon realized that the stars weren't the only place that the dogs were showing themselves. Because a year later, almost to the day, I had been praying and fasting for 3 days in fact, and asking the Heavenly Father to show me a sign that my dog who had passed the year prior was okay. And out of nowhere,
Do you think his dog passing is what convinced him to go down the path of like flat earthism? Because I feel like this is something you don't just like start on a whim. Like something horrible has to happen to you, and then like you wake up one day and you just decide God came down to you and told you the earth was flat. Like no normal person wakes up in the morning and says, oh yeah, earth is flat and the dogs are in the stars. I can't believe I had to respect this man.
Filming these corpuscular rays that simply prove that the sun is local, I noticed something. And I noticed something that looked so familiar,
Honestly,
that I knew.
that does look kind of dog-like. I will actually give him this one. Do I think that's a message from the Holy Father above that his dog is okay? Absolutely fucking not. But can one say that that is very dog-like? Yeah, I'll be woman enough to say it. Dog-like.
Exactly what it was. You see, you might not see that yet.
How long is this
But in a
video?
second,
God damn.
you will. Because the dog I was praying about, asking the Heavenly Father to show me a sign of,
I mean, just
was
looks
my
like
dog Tillman.
Tillman. That's a loser ass name for a dog. Sorry, Tillman. Rest in peace. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but Tillman. If my name was Tillman, I'd be asking to be dead
My
too.
dog Tillman, who appeared in the clouds
It just looks like
after
a
3
normal
days
dog.
of fasting and praying. But the story doesn't end here.
I
because
want it
not
to.
only have I seen dogs in the stars and in the clouds, but I saw dogs in water, clear as day. And I'm going to show you again what I mean.
I want what
This
he's
was
smoking.
a pool I was in over Memorial Day
I don't
weekend,
smoke,
and
but I want
found
it.
myself, again, thinking about Tillman. Praying, in fact. And because of the experiences I had already had up to this point with seeing
What
dogs
the fuck are we looking
in
at,
stars
even?
and seeing dogs in clouds, I decided to film the water that I was sitting by. And I bet you'll never guess what I found.
What, water?
As my dogs
That-
both just let out big sighs of
That just looks like water. How is that supposed to be a
because
dog?
but here it is, right here.
Oh, the screenshot.
And sure, you can call this pareidolia or whatever you want. But just wait until I show you the comparison.
Okay, I'm
yet
waiting.
again.
I'm waiting.
Tillman, again, that dog I was meditating on and thinking
feel
and
like-
praying about. And
I feel like you could zoom in close enough on anything and it gets so pixelated that you could kind of see whatever you want in it. It's kind of how I feel about those like paranormal ghost hunting shows. And they like use the spirit box and it's like coming out with broken words because it's like cycling through so many radio stations and frequencies. And it's just kind of like you can't really make anything out, but since you want to hear something, your brain, even with like the very little snippet you get, like your brain tells you that's what it says. And then like if you listen to it on your own, aren't thinking about a word that you wanted to say, it doesn't sound like shit. But the second somebody tells you like, oh, this sounded like Aaron or like some shit that they want you to think it says, then the second you put that in your head, you can hear it. Like this is giving the same exact thing. I'm done. New Pope.
do you see my video I did last week on this guy?
Chicago Pope.
Pope.
Chicago
And how he
Pope.
kind of resembles somebody. Almost
Who is
as
that?
much as I resemble someone.
What?
That's Lieutenant Dan, otherwise known as Gary Sinise, and they both just happen to be from Chicago. And well, Gary Sinise has some news for us. Gary's taken a leave from Hollywood because his son tragically died
Okay,
at the age of...
I need to know where this is going. I need to know where this is going. Because this could be the craziest fucking poll of the century.
Can anyone guess it? I bet you can.
Oh.
He died at 33. What an amazing, shocking, mind-blowing coincidence. I don't know.
What does dying at 33 have to do with anything?
Break from Hollywood kind of reminded me of someone else's break from Hollywood.
They both just look like two white
This
men.
guy's break.
And two
Jim
old white men
Carrey's
from
taking a
Chicago.
break
They
from
all look the
acting.
same.
I've done enough. I've done enough. Remember that? You can hardly even tell. There's
Wait,
two
he
different
tried
faces
saying
there.
that Joe Biden and Jim Carrey are the same guy? Former President of the United States, Joseph Biden, and Jim Carrey, hit actor from The Mask, are the same guy? I don't even have a punchline for this. I could literally sit down for weeks, try to script a joke that is funnier than just the insanity of that, and I wouldn't be able to come up with anything. Because just that statement alone is so baffling that you don't need a punchline.
I wonder if the real reason
They have
Jim
different
took
color
a break
eyes.
was to just play a bigger role.
Also,
They didn't want you to
different
know
mouths.
about. Kind of like Gary's probably taking a break to play a bigger role.
The Pope.
They don't want you to know about.
Who's they?
Well, Jim came out of retirement to film Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but he's going back into retirement, and he says to focus on his spiritual life. I think that's a clue. Because I know exactly how these people operate and exactly how they tell us the
who's
truth.
they and who is these
smirk
people?
about it in real life. And well, it just happens that Jim Carrey does a JC, Jim Carrey, and who else has that initial? JC. I wonder, maybe someone who is put on a cross to look like that. And in every single movie he does that pose. And then he says this.
I wonder if I could do that with other people. I wonder what would happen if I decided to just be Jesus.
Look at that smirk. Watch this.
What?
I did
What?
some posts on this months and months ago.
What is his point? Saying that a comedian, saying that he, like, what would happen if he becomes Jesus? Like, did his wife leave him or something? I don't know. I don't know this man's story. I didn't care enough about him in high school to really even look at him ever. I think one time he tried to talk to me and I like scoffed at him because I don't respect him. Because I always thought he was a little weird freaking lunatic for other reasons. Also, I will say I learned about Fittest Flat Earther thing post me graduating. So I didn't know about this while I was in school. But when some of my friends were still, going to my high school, this was happening. And I think he has since been fired. I think he was fired a handful of years ago at this point. But I thought that's a hand job of God. I was gonna say we're getting somewhere good. I feel like this is just gonna be racially insensitive, and I kind of want to watch it. Mothership or New Jerusalem? What is happening? Chicago or ancient Rome? You know, I wake up, when I was still living back in Illinois, I would wake up every morning and say, is this Chicago or is this ancient Rome? Let's see. Let's see which is which.
Question the narrative after this video.
Okay,
You just
okay.
might not be someone that's going to ever do that. Do you know what city you're looking at here? What about now?
Either
Ancient Rome,
Chicago or
Greece?
ancient Rome.
Definitely somewhere in Europe, right? Well, what if I told you it was Chicago in 1893? And that all of these structures were Chicago at the World's Fair in 1893. And supposedly, all of this was designed just as a temporary city to be demolished at the end of the fair. They called it the White City, and everything was just painted white, and it wasn't made of stone, but just a mixture of plaster and cement, so it was real easy to take down at the end of the fair. But you see, here's where the narrative starts to crumble. The Museum of Science and Industry, which was supposedly created during the World's Fair, is right there, and this is a picture
Okay.
from that time period. And this building, supposedly which was created for the World's Fair as a temporary structure, still stands in Chicago to this day. And with a quick Google search, you can see that the Museum of Science and Industry is made of limestone. And when you look at the buildings that used to be here, that were supposedly facade...
Why is he acting like these are like genuine pictures? First of all, they did not have colored pictures. Second of all, I just want to say, like, these aren't real pictures. Yes, a camera had already been invented. Like, you know, there could have been pictures of this. These aren't real pictures of what was happening. I don't know why he's acting as if these are like the definitive pictures. These are representations and like artist interpretations of probably what was happening. But in 1863, we weren't getting pictures like this. The first camera was made early 1800s, like I think even right around 1820, 1815, 1820, around there. And I'm assuming, you know, they weren't advancing the camera this quickly. Also, it's so funny because, like, this is going against the thought of, like, some of this probably was just plaster, that because they knew they probably wouldn't want to keep all of it. But if one could make the general assumption that maybe they knew buildings that they wanted to keep around, or like had that forward thinking of like, oh, maybe we want to keep some of these, so then they built more permanent buildings than the ones they knew they were going to take down. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, don't shoot me down. Don't shoot me down. Don't shoot me down, Tyler. But, like, just think about it for 1 second. This isn't some weird conspiracy of, like, this building can't really be around because they're supposed to be made of plaster. Who's saying that the other buildings weren't plaster and then they were like, we should just have one around because we probably want to keep it? Is that so hard? Is that so fucking hard to comprehend? You're a grown man. You're a grown man who looks like that. Ugly little fucking face like that. You probably haven't felt the touch of a woman in years. If you had a wife, she probably is so disappointed in you and hopefully left you. I can't remember if you had children, but if you do, they probably won't ever talk to you again because you're a fucking loser. And your dog's in a better place because your dog doesn't have to put up with your annoying ass. Like, fucking come at me, Tyler, you know? I know where you're from. And you, Tyler, no longer know where I am. We've got beef that you never knew about, but I just hated your guts in high school. I thought you were a fucking pervert. And now, not only do I still think you're probably a pervert, but I also think you're a fucking weirdo who is a loser. Anyways, let's just...
Odds and made of plaster. You quickly see they're the same material. And then you drive down the street just a little bit to find Soldier Field.
Oh, Soldier.
With the exact type of columns and limestone structure.
Bro, they could have been rebuilt. They either could have already been there or they could have been rebuilt. I don't understand this point that he's trying to get at. I don't get it.
And then you research when Soldier Field was first constructed, and it says 1922.
Yeah, okay.
And all the
limestone still existed. They didn't get rid of limestone.
Construction photos, all of them, all show the columns already standing. Literally, all of them.
Okay, and
it's funny, there are
and
no
what?
pictures of construction without the columns. Even the earliest one I found, with no stadium at all, still had the columns. Could it be that these columns and these types of structures found all over the world and all over the United States, like in New Hampshire here, and Philadelphia, and Washington, and San Francisco, and Madison, Wisconsin, and again, back to Chicago, could all be coming from a time period where we actually had very advanced technology that they don't want us to know about.
Who's they?
Because if we did, we would know that we're not just always evolving and getting smarter, and that we don't know better than our ancient ancestors.
I mean, he definitely isn't evolving and getting smarter and doesn't know more than his ancient ancestors. That's for sure.
Who all thought the Earth was an enclosed system with a dome over it. And that if we knew that technology
He was just projecting there,
to
the
move
fuck.
rocks with sound, or to use lasers to cut images in stone, then we might realize technology's always been here. Because technology doesn't come from the brains of men. It comes from the will of God.
What?
And the fallen angels chose to exchange technology for women.
Oh,
If we
brother.
knew
Wait.
There's been technology and advancement all along, then it opens your eyes to the fact of what's actually going on in the world. And that's a whole big topic for another time, but it's a spiritual thing. And that brings me all the way back to the beginning of where I started this. Because if you knew the type of technology and advanced buildings and structures from this to the pyramids, and that we've always had that, then you don't believe the narrative that is hand-fed to you through the textbooks and through the indoctrination of general education. And once you realize all of that is garbage, you
Dog. I'm about to beat the shit out of this guy. Is he calling Katy Perry the devil? Because this is a conspiracy I can get behind. I also don't like Katy Perry. I think Katy Perry going to space is. I think we could have left her. I was in a depressive episode longer than Katy Perry was in space. So, like, I don't, like, what was the point of putting her up there? Leave her. No, he didn't talk about Brandon Lee. Ugh, that's so upsetting. I love Brandon Lee. That's a fun known fact about me. I love Brandon Lee. I think The Crow, the original Crow, it's a fantastic movie. Really up there on, like, some of my favorite movies. And Brandon Lee in that movie, he's one of my man crushes. I'm not gonna lie. He's hot in that movie. Sue me. He's kind of hot. God forbid a lesbian finds him hot. Eat my shorts, Google. Okay, we are watching this one.
You know what I find absolutely adorable? You, if you still think you live on something like that. Or maybe yours looks a little bit more like this. Because our friends at NASA says these are both real images taken from satellites. So which one do you live on? In an effort to help you get off this big ball of lies, whichever one you live on, I did something for you.
Well, they're the same
Check it out.
picture, so...
I asked the Google machine, what's the best proof?
Not the AI overview. He is making such a horrible name for public school educators. I know he was literally just a gym teacher. That's all he did. And, like, coached. That's all he did. I'm not saying gym teachers can't be, like, cool and fun and smart, because a lot of my gym teachers from my high school, I really liked them. My 2 girls, I loved you guys. Can't actually remember your names right now, so my apologies, but they were pretty sick, and they seemed like very well-educated women, and they're super cool. But yeah, so that wasn't me trying to, like, diss on gym teachers, but it was me calling him incompetent. Yes, that is the truth.
They have that we live on a globe, and it says the overwhelming scientific evidence, including satellite imagery. Well, we saw how real and consistent that is. Also, lunar eclipses.
Does he not believe that cameras can get better over time? And, like, pictures become more defined when you start upgrading your cameras?
Well, lunar eclipses proves we live on a spinning ball, duh, because the shadow cast on the moon during a lunar eclipse is a strong indicator of a spherical shape. Oh,
Well,
yeah?
yes.
Let's check that out. Here I am with my little home experiment lunar eclipse, and I'm creating a round shadow that looks very similar to the round shadow on the moon that we see. But you know what? Guess what I used to create that round shadow? A square picture frame. Now you tell me how that's evidence that we live on a round Earth creating a round shadow on the moon if I can create a round shadow on a volleyball with a square flat
Because it wasn't
picture frame.
totally a round shadow.
Okay, so if I
It
crossed
wasn't
off the
completely
evidence
a round
of satellite
shadow.
imagery because it looks fake as F, and lunar eclipse and the whole round shadow on the moon isn't actually evidence, well, what else do you have, Google? The disappearing of ships, hull first, over the horizon, strongly supports the Earth being a sphere. Okay, let's look into that one. Okay, here's a boat, and we can see it all, and yes, it will disappear bottom up, but what they don't teach you is that's just how the human eye and perspective works. The further something gets away, the lower it gets in your field of vision. And, well, if it was going over a curve, you wouldn't be able to zoom in over the curve because, well, the curve would be in the way of zooming in. And, well, what else you got, Google? Do you understand what I'm saying? If it was actually going out of view because it was going around a curve, you can't zoom in and you can still zoom in. So, therefore, that proof is null and void, like every...
I hate this guy. I fucking... Is this his own, like, shit? Because it is shit, actually. So remember last video when I looked at Gracie Abrams' merch? I have a similar feeling about those two articles. Oh, okay, it is his. He apparently had a lot of requests to bring back icewall.com. Is icewall.com just like he supports ice and the wall? Or is Icewall some weird fucking flat earth thing? I don't want to look this up, but I will. Okay, let's pull up Wikipedia. Cause I trust it more than Google AI. Flat earthers think that Antarctica is an ice wall. Okay, NASA is guarding the Antarctic ice wall that surrounds the Earth. Flat earthers argue that NASA manipulates and fabricates its satellite images based on observations, that the color of oceans changes from image to image, because that's how it works. And that the continents seem to be in different places because the Earth moves. The publicly perpetuated image is kept up through a large-scale practice of compartmentalization, according to which only a select number of individuals have knowledge of the truth. I can't even start on how fucking stupid that is. And the fact that their arguments are that the continents are in different places. Yeah, because the Earth moves. Satellites are moving. The Earth is moving. I'm gonna be sick. This is just...
Both of these were filmed yesterday with my Nikon P1000. And I would like to bring to attention the color of these craters here versus the color of the craters there. Clearly different. Now you need to ask yourself, why would that be?
No, what you need to ask yourself is there a difference between those?
Bro, no, literally this comment right here, somebody needs to understand the color temperature settings on their camera. For real. Like, all of his, like, color things can so easily be chalked up to, like, just the differences in camera settings or camera quality. Another one. Oh, this one is gravity is a hoax. Hashtag gravity, hashtag moon, hashtag density, hashtag buoyancy. Huh. I've been saying that.
Do you know that gravity is a complete and total hoax? There's a reason it's only a theory and not a law or a fact, because it's never been proven. And I'm going to use the moon to prove it to you. So if we look at the moon, we are told that the moon is what causes tides. And to me, even before I was a flat earther, that never made sense to me, because why would the gravity of the moon impact salt water but not fresh water? Well, I'm going to explain that to you. And I wanna let you know.
I have seen this video before because my friend sent it to me. But I think I also commented on that fact when me and him were talking about it. Because, like, freshwater lakes have tides. Like, the Great Lakes, they have tides. Any real body of water will have a tide. That was to date still the most baffling thing he has ever said.
What's really
to
moving
me.
things up and down, or allowing things to fall or rise in this realm you live in, and it's not gravity. And man, I don't know. That sure looks like it's creating its own light to me, doesn't it to you? Does that really look like it's a dusty space ball reflecting the sun's light?
Yes.
I think so. Oh man, and just so many good things in this. If we were on a
Also, this is like a
that would
horrible
reflect
picture.
vision, but that's a topic for another day. So why does the moon impact the tides? Because there is salt in this water. And salt
Okay.
in water makes it a positively charged substance. And what happens if something's positively charged and there's a negative attraction? It's going to pull up on it.
Oh my god.
So just so you can see, pure water is not very conductive. Only a tiny bit of current can move through the water, but when salt or sodium is added to it, molecules become split. Sodium ion, the sodium basically is missing an electron, which causes it to have a positive charge. So salt water has a positive charge. Fresh lake water, like the lake I live by, Lake Michigan, which never has tides, does not have a positive charge. So I took this from this nonsense, so ignore the first half. But basically what it's saying is the sun has a positive charge. We know this. We use solar energy to literally charge batteries, and we can just feel it. When you go out in the sun, it re-energizes you, it gives you that positive energy.
Oh my god.
Well, the moon,
I don't even care at that point. This man is truly baffling to me, because I'm like, also apparently he doesn't believe in evolution, because I was sent this video a little bit after I got sent the last video. But yeah, so he doesn't believe
your
in
ancestors,
evolution.
Neanderthals. Let me start out by saying, TikTok, I am only joking in this video, purely entertainment, not even serious. See, not too long ago, I did a 23andMe, and it came back that I had a whole lot of connections to Neanderthal DNA.
Not surprising.
It didn't surprise me. I've always been kind of ape-like. I pick things up with my toes. I can climb trees really well, so no shocker there. But when the shocker came, is when I realized evolution is a theory, and a theory that's total nonsense on top of that. So then, what was it? If not Neanderthals, then what? Let's talk about evolution first. If you were a believer in evolution, it's probably because you went to public school. And it's probably because you wouldn't think that the people teaching you would lie to you. Well, they would. Not intentionally, but unintentionally. You see, this is taught as fact in public schools. Complete
Yeah,
fact.
evolution is
It's a
taught.
theory, and it's not
Evil.
even a good theory. And let's get into it for a second.
Me when my evolution is evil.
Supposedly, we have found thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dinosaur remains. And if dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago and we were finding all their remains, well, then where's the half breed of ape and man? Where's the half breed of any animal?
Because it takes time to fossilize, and the conditions have to be extremely perfect for anything to fossilize. It's really that simple. It was just a better circumstance for those to fossilize. Also, like, we have found, like, early human fossils and apes. Like, I don't know the point that he's really getting at here. So, yeah.
Not just this one, or this one, or this one. But where's the half breed of?
Well,
an
they're
alligator?
also not half breeds. I don't know what that point is. It wouldn't be a half breed. It would be a different point of evolution. Because what would it be a half breed of?
Of a giraffe, especially a giraffe. Where's the half breed of a giraffe that started as something else and then ended up a giraffe? They don't exist at all for any animals, especially humans. So that has to put a kink in evolution's theory. Like I said, it's a theory, and it's one created to hide God. So once I figured that out, and I started thinking back to the 23andMe, I was perplexed. What the heck was I actually being linked to? If it not Neanderthal, then what? So I was looking into it. I found out that the Neanderthal relation was strongly to the Rh negative blood, and it's a deletion of that type of ancestor. Okay, so that whatever is the link to that is no longer around. And you know what isn't around? They used to be around? Giants. And if you don't believe in giants, then you just haven't taken the time to look, because they exist.
No, we're done. We're done here, Tyler. You are the most incompetent grown man I have probably come across that I personally know. And I think that you are a coward and a pervert and kind of a pussy. I know for a while was bitching and moaning about how, public school fired him for his beliefs. No, it's because you're a raving lunatic who has this public platform and you aren't good for image. You're a liability who talks his mouth, spews fucking nonsense, and it has these fucking idealized fantasies, and you're spreading misinformation. I don't know what he does now. He might just be a fucking influencer, getting those fucking flat earth promos. I don't know what those would be, but I don't know. But this video only has 51 likes, so I don't think that's happening. And yeah, you're a raving lunatic who's, I think you're just trying to spread your own agenda, which, I mean, each to their own, but also you're a grown man. You should have hobbies. You should have a life that isn't doing this. If you or anybody you love is falling down this rabbit hole, get them out. Because it's so embarrassing. And to be this hellbent on evolution not being true, and all this shit that bro is saying is crazy. First of all, I love evolution. I took an evolution class, loved it. I find it so fascinating. And I don't know if this guy knows, but there are these crazy little things called the fossil record that actually show us relative evolution progress. That does show us his so-called half-breeds, which aren't fucking half-breeds, but we don't need to get into that. That's such a horrible term that he used for that, because that means absolutely nothing. But but yeah, these supposed thousands and thousands and thousands of fake fossils that he is describing, they exist. There's a fossil record. Sure, they're not all complete because, as I said, it takes like to have any part of you, to have anything fossilized, is an extremely, like, frankly, kind of random chance event. Like, everything has to be perfect, and it has to take years and years and years and years, and like more years than you could ever fathomly imagine. So yeah, of course, there's going to be missing missing segments in the fossil record, but that doesn't mean anything. I liked him better when I just thought he was a pervert, I'm not gonna lie. And that's saying something, because I really didn't like him then, so. Well, I think that's kind of it. I can't fathom spending one more minute watching his content or looking at his ugly, ugly face. So, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you stinkers later. You need to shower. You're so stinky. Ah!